Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Now today I'm going to be doing my annual tradition of doing my top 10 albums of the year. So I always provide, I always put like a wee proviso like on like these videos that this is just my personal favourites like from like the year. Like I'm not saying these are the best albums, but they are just the ones that I either bought, they're from artists I like and listen to, and yeah, I just thought that I would compile them into a list. I'll also show a couple of my favourite reissues and kind of archival releases from the year as well. So yeah, top 10. First one though, bit of a kind of honourable mention, or number 11, or perhaps, I mean, I guess in this case it's maybe not such an honourable mention. It's the Jesus and Mary Chain's album Glasgow Eyes here that I would put at number 11, or kind of last place. And it's one of these, like, I didn't really care for this album, to like be honest with you. It got a fair bit off like acclaim like at the time though. But I just think it's, I'm not a huge fan of the Jesus and Mary Chain overall. I love their album Darklands, and Psycho Candy's great as well, but like I'm not a massive fan like of theirs generally. So this is one that I maybe could have done without buying, possibly. I mean, it's a nice copy. It's a kind of like a signed copy here, like it's this deluxe edition, double vinyl deluxe edition, so like, it's a nice copy of it I've got, but like I just don't think there's any good quality songs. I think there was one good track called 2nd of June on like the full side, but a lot of this record I really struggled with. So anyway, we will just now get cracking with the actual top 10 with my number 10 choice. Which is going to go to the album Interplay here by Ride. So Ride kind of like they've been on a bit of a kind of winning streak like over the last couple of albums. There's one called This Is Not a Safe Place, which has some great stuff on it, and Weather Diaries as well, like, is a great album. This I would say is the weakest out of those more recent albums like off Ride. I just don't think it's maybe quite got enough kind of highlights or kind of memorable like highlights like on it, and although it's not a particularly long album, there's 12 tracks on here. Some of the tracks are quite lengthy, about sort of 4 or 5 minutes, so it kind of feels like it goes on like a little bit, and it being like a double vinyl as well, like doesn't help that. A couple of highlights on here would be Last Night I Went Somewhere to Dream, like, is a really good song, and then Portland Rocks, like, is a good one like as well. I just don't think it maybe was quite as memorable or good as their last couple of albums. Okay, next up now, you might think I have a little bit low on my list, but at number 9, I'm going for The Cure and Songs from a Lost World. So this one, yeah, much anticipated return to making music for The Cure. It is a, I guess positives here, that it is quite a concise album, single disc, about sort of like 40 minutes like in length. I mean, The Cure did have a tendency to kind of drag out some of like their albums, but this one is one where they really like reined it in, and I think like is all the better for it, like kind of thing. Like, there's a couple of really great standout tracks. Like, I think my favourite is Drone No Drone, is one of the more upbeat ones like on the album. I think it's really good. Alone is a great opener, just really takes its time to kind of like get going, but is The Cure kind of doing like what they do best. And A Fragile Thing, slightly more commercial sort of song, but one what like they got a fair bit of like radio airplay with here, like in like the UK. I just think in general it's maybe a bit boring, like in places. Again, a bit like with the Jesus and Mary Chain, I'm not a massive fan like of The Cure. Like, I am missing a lot of their albums. I mean, like a lot of like their later albums I don't have a lot of interest in, and maybe the kind of, I guess, the importance and grandeur like of this album is perhaps maybe like lost on me like a little bit, just because I'm not a like mega fan of theirs. But again, welcome return to making music, an album which I think I was just reading the BBC's poll of polls like for like end of year albums, and this came in at number 6 like on like their list. So yeah, a very well acclaimed album here by The Cure. Okay, next up now at number 8 is this album by a duo called Ducks Limited, and the album is called Harm's Way. So I think I think it's Rob Walker like I have to thank for like introducing me to these, and these are a Canadian duo, and it's very much kind of jangle pop kind of sort of music with a very much a kind of DIY like aesthetic. I think a lot of it like is kind of drum machines like on here, but like it does have a real energy, like a real kind of like excitement to it. reminds me a bit of the band Felt from like the 80s, like kind of thing. Like there's tracks such as like The Main Thing, like which are very kind of quite clean, kind of sort of quite trebly sort of sounding guitars like on it, but they also like rock out like in places, like as well. The track called like On Our Way to the Rave like is a bit more like upbeat. I guess maybe like the only criticism like I would have with it is maybe in terms of like the sound palette is perhaps a bit one-dimensional, perhaps. Like but it's but like, again, like it's a short and concise album, certainly doesn't like outstay its welcome, and there's a couple of real good highlights on it as well. So yeah, that's Ducks Limited and Harm's Way. Next up now at number 8 is an album by a duo called The Wave, which consists of Graham Coxon, like from Blur, and like Rose Eleanor Dougal, who is his like real life like kind of like partner. I'm not sure if like they're married, but they're certainly like a couple, and like they make music together. And yeah, this is their second album, and it's one that like I must say, like probably towards the end of this year, about November, I was realizing that I was going to struggle like to get like a top 10 list together. So I kind of went through some of like the releases like off like the year, like I kind of sampled a few, and this is one that really like stood out to me, and so was one that I decided to buy. Very Bowie-esque, this album, kind of Scary Monsters era Bowie, Heroes era Bowie as well. I hear a lot kind of quite like abrasive kind of saxophone like in places, and kind of Fripp like Robert Fripp-esque guitar like on it like as well. I really like this record because it's a nice kind of blend of kind of lead vocals between like Graham and Rose like on here, and it just makes the album quite interesting like all like the way through. Doesn't really get boring. A couple of great tracks would be like the title track City Lights is great, You Saw's really good, Moth to the Flame, like great first 3 songs to kick off the album. And then I also really like the track Song for Eliza May, like it's a really really lovely track like as well. So yeah, The Wave here and City Lights would come in at number 7. Okay, next up now at number 6 on my list is Paul Weller's album from this year, 66. So I would say on balance this is probably a weaker album by like Weller's standards. I guess like ever since 2018's True Meanings album, it feels like he's kind of settled into this kind of mature, kind of elder statesman kind of style like of like making music, which is very classy and very like age appropriate for his kind of 66 like kind of like years like of age. But it does mean that his last couple of albums have maybe had a few songs that are like a little bit boring, or he's kind of settled into a kind of way of working kind of thing, like kind of thing that is very much like within like his comfort zone. Certainly gone are the kind of risk-taking days of kind of 22 Dreams or like Saturn's Pattern kind of thing. It's definitely grown on me a little bit since it first came out. I would say there are a couple of really good standout tracks here. Things like Ship of Fools like is a really good opener. Jumble Queen like is one of his most rocking tracks like in many years. But really aside from that, and like then I guess there's a few other good ones. Like My Best Friend's Coat like is quite a nice waltz song. Soul Wandering like he co-wrote with Bobby Gillespie from Primal Scream, which is another slightly more like upbeat song, really good. And I really like the closing track Burnout. So there's some good tracks on it, but I just think that there's also a lot of filler like on here like as well, particularly like the second side like of like the album, and it's probably is my least favourite Paul Weller album since Heliocentric, which came out way back in the year 2000. So 66 here by Paul Weller would come in at number 6. Okay, next up now we have the Sunderland duo Field Music here with their album The Limits of Language. Now this one has a more kind of lo-fi kind of feel to it a little bit, like sort of like the tracks. I think they're all kind of programmed kind of drums and that, like unlike I guess other Field Music albums where they perhaps got more of like the touring band like on them. I think this was just entirely like the Brewis brothers like on here. It's a lot more kind of synth based like than like their previous albums, and definitely for me like a bit less commercial. But there's some really good stuff like on here like as well, particularly side 1. Like I really like the opening track 6 Weeks 9 Wells, which is a very dramatic like opener. The Guardian Sleeper's got a really fun kind of like rhythm to it, quite an upbeat song, and Sounds About Right is quite a moody track, but really atmospheric, really good stuff. Maybe a bit of filler, like on side 2, but overall, a good record here from Field Music. Certainly not their best album, but like, yeah, another very welcome release, like off theirs. Okay, that's not now. At number 4, we have the band The Dream Machine and their second album here, Small Time Monsters. So I have my good friend like Ollie Saunders to thank for like kind of like introducing me to them sort of thing, or kind of like making me aware kind of thing that like they are actually a really good band and like really like worth like listening to. They supported the Lathams when I seen them like we'll get on for 2 years ago now, like 2023, and I mean I thought they were like a decent support act, but like never went kind of like beyond that, kind of like wanting to listen to them, like but then like yeah, like again, like I said, like I was kind of struggling to get my top 10 list together, so I thought that I would give this album a try, and I really liked it. It really does remind me quite a bit of the Lathams, and particularly their first album, like because it's the same producer like on here, like a guy called James Skelly, who was like in a band called The Coral, and works with has worked with various kind of like modern kind of like indie bands like the Lathams, and I think he produced all of Blossom's albums like as well. So for me, this really reminded me like a lot like of like the Lathams, and kind of like almost is kind of what I would I've wished the Lathams are still kind of doing like a little bit, like kind of like a bit more kind of psychedelic, kind of 60s influence kind of music and that. And the singer's got a great voice, but I do and like really reminds me a bit like of like Alex Moore, like sort of like the singer like from like the Lathams. Yeah, this is an excellent like modern like indie rock album with a retro twist. There's tracks on here, like there's certain songs like I think the track called The Horse really reminds me like a lot of like the House Martins. There's other ones such as like Tonight I've Got Heaven in My Arms is a gorgeous ballad. Same with like Bring Back the Wonder, like the closing track. And then there's just some other great kind of tracks as well, like very melodic, like well written songs, things like Cindy's Eyes and Posters of You, really catchy stuff like I think like on this album. There's a few other weaker tracks like me, like I must say I'm not crazy about the cover. It's the same criticism that Ollie has like of this album, the whole kind of monsters theme and kind of Halloweeny theme on it. I don't really care for. So there's 2 tracks like on here. I think particularly Wolfman like is like the weakest, and Frankenstein I think musically like is great, but lyrically I'm maybe like not a massive fan of. But no, yeah, a really good record here though by The Dream Machine, and yeah, I really need to check out the first album because that's supposed to be really good like as well, what came out last year. Okay, next up now at number 3 we have got the Lemon Twix and their album A Dream Is All I Know, which is another kind of sort of retro kind of sounding like album, kind of very 60s like influence again, but this one very much taking its cues from kind of sunshine pop and kind of like the Beach Boys like sort of like homage like sort of thing, and these are just really well crafted, very melodic kind of like pop songs. Maybe my slight criticism is maybe gets a bit twee like in places, like kind of thing. Like, but there are some absolute gems like on here. Tracks like They Don't Know How to Fall in Place is one of my songs like off is like one of my songs of the year. My Golden Years like is a great opener. I really like the track, like the closing track like as well, like Rock On like is like really good like too. But a very talented pair like of brothers here like out of like New York. Yeah, great record. A Dream Is All We Know. Help us get him back where he belongs as the police respond. Okay, but now at number 2 we have got Blossoms and their album Gary here. So yeah, this is I would describe this probably as a return to form. I would say for Blossoms. Their last album, Ribbon Around the Bomb, had some good stuff on it, but also like a bit of filler. And it's a record which I'm not sure. I think it's still got to number one like and everything, but they're almost like when they perform now, they almost don't touch that album like in like their set lists. Like, but this one here I think is a really solid album. Like there's a fair bit like of like variety like on here, like in terms like of sounds and styles, from things like Big Star, which is this more kind of immediate kind of guitar based song, to things like the second track, like What Can I Say After I'm Sorry, as a more of a kind of funky bass line like to it, and like as well like as things like I Like Your Look, which sees Blossoms going in a very different direction, a lot more kind of dancey sort of direction, and I think works really well. Then things like Perfect Me, just a great kind of like indie banger, and then things like Slow Down, a great ballad, and like Why Do I Give You the Worst of Me, a much more like more like abrasive like upbeat track. So like, yeah, I think it is a slick, well-produced album here, but one that I think is really good. Again, it's quite concise, 10 songs, perfect length, and yeah, another really, really great record and great additions to the Blossoms discography. Now, I did say at the start of this video that I would show some of my favourite like reissues and kind of archival releases from the year. So just before I reveal my number one, which might not be too much of a surprise for regular viewers of my channel, I thought I would go through some of my favourite reissues and archival releases. So yeah, I've got 4 here to show. So this one is Johnny Marr's album Boom Slang that he made in the year 2000. It was credited to Johnny Marr and the Healers, and I'm not sure like if they had kind of intentions to perhaps like make more albums like as like a band, but this was it basically. It's the first time it's ever been put out on vinyl, and you get the main album, I think, spread out through the first 3 sides, and then a bonus side of various extra material, B-sides, a few covers like Don't Think Twice, It's Alright, like is on there, like yeah, a very nice reissue here. Great to get it on vinyl finally. Another favourite reissue of the year has been Tom Petty's and the Heartbreakers album Long After Dark here, that came out in a deluxe 2LP set here. So yeah, I mean, the main album like is quite common, like easy to get, so it didn't need reissuing, but the bonus material on here is absolutely stunning because they had so many great outtakes that they could have easily slotted onto the album and arguably would have made it like a better album. So there's tracks on here, things like Keeping Me Alive and Never Be You, things that are probably now favourite Tom Petty songs like off mine, and like tracks which, yeah, like had never been released like up to this point, and like a few live in studio kind of like sort of versions like of songs like on the album, originally done for kind of like a TV special kind of thing. So yeah, and like those performances like are fantastic, like as well, probably arguably better than the ones that ended up like on the album. And it's lovely package, lovely gatefold, lovely sleeves like on it like as well. So no, all round a really, really nice reissue here. And like another real anticipated reissue of the year for me has been the Lilac Times Astronauts album, which is an absolutely gorgeous 3LP reissue of it. Like I've done a separate unboxing of this because it is just such a stunning reissue of it. Like the main album like has always been quite difficult to get, was originally released like on Creation Records, and is one of the Lilac Times' very best albums. Like there's a lot of variety like on it. Like you've got things like in Inverna Gardens, which is just this like, yeah, kind of, it's got a kind of spacey, kind of psychedelic feel to it, but then there's other tracks which are more kind of stripped back, like acoustic. The extras on here consist of demos, which are really interesting. Again, a couple of tracks that didn't make the final album, and then a compilation of live stuff as well. I mean, there's only 9 live tracks, so maybe could have put on a couple more live tracks, like if like they were like up to scratch, but no, really nice reissue, and it is gorgeously packaged like as well. So yeah, if you're interested in this, I would direct you to my unboxing video of it. And the final kind of archival release, probably my favourite like off like these ones here, was Paul McCartney and Wings One Hand Clapping here. So this one yeah, was basically a kind of like live in studio kind of thing, like they like recorded, and I'm not exactly sure why they recorded it. I'm not sure like if like they intended to release this like as like an album like at like the time, or if they were just rehearsing and thought we'll like film some of it like as well kind of thing. But there's some great stuff in here, like some like probably Wings I would say like at like an absolute peak. So stuff like Jet and Let Me Roll, like great live versions of those, like some of those like eclipsing like even like the studio takes of them, and same is true with like same is true with Junior's Farm like as well. But then there's other tracks like on here where it's kind of just McCartney like at like the piano, or kind of giving us like kind of his kind of like celebrating his love for kind of like the music hall sort of thing. So tracks like I'll Give You a Ring and kind of like Let's Love. There's a few kind of like slightly cheesy moments like on here like as well. But it is a really, really good collection like of songs here, and great to get them like finally like officially issued. It was also released like alongside the One Hand Clapping film that was originally made, but again sat kind of like dormant like for like many years, which is a great film of kind of all of these songs being like performed. But no, really great like archival release here, like from Paul McCartney. I think a lot of fans were very grateful that we finally got this issued in full. Okay, so now I will reveal what my number one album of 2024 is.
So walk on with hope in your heart, you'll find yourself in...
Which, no surprises if you are a regular viewer of my channel, but I'm giving it to Paul Heaton and the Mighty Several here. Notably, this is the first year that Paul Heaton has topped my end-of-year list. Like, I've been doing these videos, I've been like a fan of Paul Heaton since 2019, and he's released two other albums since then, and neither of those made the top of my list. So this is the first time that he has featured, and it's my most played album of the year. I think it is a great collection of songs. I think, again, there's a lot of variety like on here, from like the really upbeat National Treasure with some of his very best lyrics, to Quicksand, which has this kind of ska kind of feel to it, which features like Rianne Downey like on vocals. And I think kind of switching it up kind of like with like the vocalist really worked like on this album. Like I'd say certainly the last Paul Heaton and Jackie Abbott album felt a little bit tired, felt a little bit like they were just going through the motions a little bit. So working with different people, so such as like Rianne, such as like this Danny Muldoon and like Yvonne Sheldon here, really like I think like opened up Heaton's music and took it into kind of different places that it otherwise might have not gone to. So other great tracks like Small Boats has some great lyrics on it. Pull Up a Seat is really heartbreaking ballad, but really good. And then Walk On Slow Down is this kind of like this electronic kind of backing. So it's it is there's a lot of variety like on this album, and I think it deserves its place at the top of my list. So that has been my countdown there of my top 10 albums of 2024. So yes, I hope you have enjoyed this video. I would be interested to know what some of your favourite releases were from this year, and I will see you all next time for the next video. Goodbye.
Walk on with hope in your heart, you'll find yourself a much better place.